Mike Seidel is joining us there. Mike, I know from a perspective of snow in Springfield, this thing could be the biggest that we've seen in more than a decade, perhaps.
Yes, the last time we had a foot of snow from a storm was back on November 30th, December 1st, 2006. So that's over 18 years. The intensity has picked up. Our visibility at the airport down to about 1.5 miles. Joplin, just down the interstate, it's down to 3/4 of a mile, so they're closing in on moderate snow. There, the interstate sign, Rolla, going east, back towards St. Louis, and West Joplin, down towards the extreme southwest corner of the state. Also have warnings up for parts of Kansas and also Oklahoma. So traffic moving fine, but I want to show you what the roads look like now. This has been treated with salt. And it's 14 degrees, so why are we getting wet and not ice? Because of the salt and the fact that we have daylight. Even though it's so cold, because of the snow intensity not being very heavy, right now this road and the interstate is just wet. But that is going to change very quickly as the snow intensity picks up. By the way, the wind chill now has officially dropped just below zero at 2 below zero here in Springfield. So you gotta look at the roads that have been treated. Now I wanna show you the parking lot over here. And you'll notice that the snow is sticking there because none of this has been treated. You also notice how some spots are white and then you see the asphalt. That's because of the wind. We're getting northeast winds now sustained at 15, 16 miles an hour, gusts over 20 miles an hour. So that's gonna blow and eventually drift the snow around once we get some significant accumulations. So it's snowing now, the heavier snow arriving in the next couple of hours, and then it snows until about midnight tonight. Storm totals, 8 to 12 inches. So we're in the sweet spot here. Fayetteville, Joplin, all of this area down through the Ozarks, a lot of snow. It's powder, but again, as Stephen mentioned, if it gets packed down by cars, then it's not gonna have much of a chance to melt until at least Saturday, unless it gets hit by the sunshine, because our temperature forecast, look at this, is just unbelievably cold for this time of the year. These are records. Highs tomorrow and Thursday, mid-teens. Average highs 50, 51, so these are record cold max temperatures, meaning going back to the early 1880s, they've never seen temperatures this cold for a high on these days in February. That would be the 19th and 20th. And then on Thursday morning, we go down to 5 below zero. That's a record. That's going to take 12 degrees off the record. First sub-zero temperature here this season, coldest obviously so far this season, and way below the average of 29. So 29, that's 34 degrees below average. So very, very cold weather. The snow is going to stick around except for areas that are plowed, treated, and get hit by the sun. But we have a very nice recovery over the weekend. Saturday getting close to 40, Sunday 50, and then Monday up towards 60. So if you can hang in for four long, bitter cold days, Stephen, it is going to get back to average and even above, but we've got a long way to go. Just getting underway here in Springfield off 44.
Yeah, that's the pain of this whole thing. I mean, I can't believe that I'm looking with 13 degrees. The pavement, Mike, is wet behind you. I may have missed. You may have said it. Have you seen plows moving through? We talked to the Missouri Department of Transportation. They said that they were dispatching additional resources down there.
Yeah, they have salted this road,
yeah,
probably more than once. I've seen them come by once, but they started salting overnight last night because they knew the snow was going to start this morning. It officially began at 6:17, but it was hard to see. You wouldn't have seen it on television until about an hour and a half ago, but it's slowly picking up, and again, it's all powder. The fact that it's snowing here at 15, 14 degrees is very unusual. Usually, you get snowstorms. In fact, from what I remember from Penn State, 80% of major snowstorms occur with temperatures between 24 and 32. Obviously, you don't need it to be 15 to snow. And by the way, old wives' tale, it's never too cold to snow. It's just the fact that where the coldest weather is not in an area where they get a lot of moisture and snowfall. So we'll be watching the interstate signs, the visibility coming down through the next couple of hours. In fact, I see, it looks like a plow on the overpass over 44 in the distance, but you'll tune in through the afternoon on Fox Weather and Fox News, and you'll see how conditions are going to go downhill, Stephen, and it'll be a virtual whiteout at some point because the models are forecasting an inch an hour for more than several hours. Don't think we're going to get a blizzard because we don't have enough wind.
Right.
You need 35-mile-an-hour wind gusts 3 consecutive hours, and I don't think we're even going to get a wind gust to 35 miles an hour.
Probably
But
not.
Nonetheless,
Yeah.
major impacts here, biggest storm of the season, and we'll see how we rank as far as a foot or more for the calendar day and for Tuesday and Wednesday combined, although 90% or more of the snow is going to fall today and not after midnight tonight.
Yeah, we'll see how those totals rack up. One thing I know, that dead grass behind you and that you're standing in, it's going to be gone in just probably a couple of hours. We won't see any of that, Mike.
No, it'll, well, unless, again, with this powdery snow, some of it will cover up before other areas because of the wind dispersing the snow blowing around in this area. But yeah, it's going to be a great afternoon. If you like snow, you like to watch snow come down, and you're sitting in your Barker Lounger, say, in a warmer location, you can just go, I don't want to be there.
Maybe meet you at a Waffle House. That sounds good. Mike Seidel, appreciate it, in Springfield, Missouri, with that snow that's falling down. Well, as we do gear up for this winter storm news.
Mike Seidel is in Springfield, Missouri with the latest. Mike, difference of 24 hours, a complete season change for you right now, my friend.
Yes, yesterday we had a high of 38, the normal is 50. Today, right now, we're down to 13. We've actually gone down 5 degrees since sunrise. The wind chill is 2 below zero, and I was looking upstream. Wichita, Kansas is just above zero, and the wind chill is 20 below zero. Wichita, Kansas. This is going to be one for the record books, not only the cold, but the snowstorm, because we're likely to see a record daily snowfall, but also, as far as the season goes, this is going to be the biggest by far. So far, our top storm was 6.3 inches. I see no way we're not going to break that today, unless we get dry slotted. I don't see that on the models at this point. We're out on 544. This is the main route between St. Louis to Joplin and City. Wichita, I mentioned seeing some snow. It's light snow. In fact, just about everybody reporting what we call light snow. Visibility is above 3/4 of a mile. So at that point, we get down to half a mile. It's called moderate snow, and then a quarter or less is heavy snow, which we will have in here. Notice the ground is getting whiter and whiter. We have grass here. The roads are becoming snow-packed and snow-covered. Look at the difference now that the intensity is picked up. It's hard to see any asphalt up here. It is just snow and slush. They have salted, but it's coming down harder, and it's only 13 degrees. The salt's not going to do much of anything today, along with the insulation what's getting through the clouds today. So, Bob, we're in for the long haul out here in southwest Missouri. And remember, traveling south or down up 44 or south into the Ozarks, you're going to run into the mountains and hills. That's another issue, because elevation and trying to get up and down the hills, especially if you don't have all-wheel or four-wheel drive. And even then, that's not a guarantee.
No, and Mike, we just had the graphic up before showing the snow-covered roads, and they're clearly marching from west to east. Right now, where you are, near 44, it looks passable, and that's what it says on our computer model, too.
And I want to talk about the cold, because here's that 4-day forecast. We'll throw that up there. We had a high of 18. I don't know if we've updated, but we're at 13 now. We're not going to get back up to about zero or so. Not quite a record low. The record low tomorrow morning is 7 below. Well, look at the high temperatures, Bob, Wednesday and Thursday, mid-teens. These are record cold maximums, record cold high temperatures. We've never seen high temperatures this cold, and their records go back to 1882. This is insanely cold. And then Thursday morning, down to 7 below. Or 5 below, 7 below. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be a record. The record on Thursday morning is 7. And don't forget the wind chill. I mentioned the wind chill right now. Wichita, Kansas is about 20 below. Our wind chills here will go down to 15 to 20 below between tonight and then Thursday morning. And the difference between snow-packed roads and snow-covered roads, you got a little traction, but where you don't have any salt or any plowing, everything is becoming white on the asphalt.
Oh, man. I'm surprised we can get a
We
shot
got to plow.
at it all. Yeah, Mike, we're breaking
around
up
the corner.
shot. Yeah,
He's got
there we go.
He's got the plow down. And let me see if he's putting salt down. Yep, he's putting down melting components. So he's doing the double duty, scraping and putting down the salt or the melting component. I'm not sure exactly what it is. So there you go, Bob, from Springfield. We've got a long way to go. 8 to 12 inches expected here from the storm.
Yeah, Mike Seidel out there in Springfield, Missouri. It feels like -2, just so you know, Michael. That is the your wind chill right now.
Oh, he
-2.
knows, I bet.
I know, man. One person who's got boots on the ground right now in Springfield, Missouri. We've got our storm specialist, Mike Seidel. It's out there, and I'm looking at this camera, and every time we see it, right? Is it me? It's gotten a little bit worse. It looks like it's less than a mile visibility at this point. And Mike, you're still bundled up. Your temperatures still feel like about -2, and the snow is almost relentless at this point, marching from Kansas into Missouri.
Yes, indeed. And the update here at noon Central Time, it's down to 11 degrees, and the wind chill now is 5 below zero. 5 below zero. So it's going to stay below zero for now until, well, at least through Thursday. In fact, we'll drop down to 15 to 20 below zero at some point. This is frostbite weather. I've got all the heavy artillery on. What I'll be wearing when the wind chills are 15 below zero. The only thing that I really need is something to protect my face, because any exposed flesh can freeze up in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes when it's that cold. Speaking of impacts on I-44, I just checked the MDOT, MoDOT, I should say, not MDOT, MoDOT. We're not in Montana, but MoDOT transportation map. And we do have an accident down 44 near Joplin in the town of Jasper, and they've got westbound I-44 shut down. That happened at 11:17. It would be shut down for an hour and a half. So that's probably still shut down, and that's what you're going to run into. These accidents, especially if they involve a tractor trailer, can shut down the whole interstate in one direction. So keep that in mind. All the roads in Missouri are snow covered, not even partially snow covered, but down in this part of the state, snow covered. I don't see any road closures yet, Bob, which is thankfully good. And we're not going to have the kind of wind we've seen, you know, in the plains where they'll shut down 80 or that 29 there in South Dakota, North Dakota. We're not going to have that kind of wind, so I'm hoping they can keep the interstate open. But you're going to have to, you know, slow down, especially going towards Joplin or going towards Rolla through those higher spots on the northern end of the Ozarks. Let's take a look at the visibility right now. Officially at the airport at noon, half-mile moderate snow, and I can see to the other side of the overpass over 44, and that's about it. So that is about a half a mile, maybe a tad more. So it's adding up. It's powdery snow with temperatures in the low teens, and that's where it's going to stay all day today. Tonight it will go down close to zero. The snow, for the most part, will wrap up by midnight. Maybe a leftover flake or two, but I'd say 90% of it's going to fall by midnight. And then we wake up tomorrow to bitter cold weather, down around zero. The coldest they've been this winter so far is 1 lonely degree. So if they don't get there tomorrow morning, they will on Thursday morning with a low of 5 below zero. First time this season. I need to check the climb. I made a mental note of that, and my mental didn't stay with my mental, but I need to check to see the last time they were below zero. I think it was a couple of years ago when we had the big freeze in Texas. But albeit said, 5 below is going to take 12 degrees off the record. But it's the high temperatures that are so extreme. Mid-teens for highs. The average high this time of the year, 50, goes up to 51 later this week as we head towards the first day of spring. And so we're talking high temperatures that are running 35 degrees below average. And those are going to be records, what we call record low maxes or record low high temperatures. That means it's never been that cold during the daytime since 1882 in Springfield. That's 140 years plus of data, Bob. So that's a long stretch. And when you're talking highs mid-teens, that's really crazy, bitter cold and dangerous cold. Everything's closed today as far as schools go. I suspect restaurants will, for the most part, be closed by 5 or 6 o'clock tonight, except for, of course, the Waffle House. But other than that, tomorrow morning, I would suspect schools will be closed again because of the road conditions. And as far as melting goes, we don't get above freezing. See the temperature forecast. We don't get above freezing until Saturday afternoon. So the next 3 days, even though the sun comes out, the only melting we're going to see is on the sunny side of the street. Like the road out here off 44, this is Gladstone. This will be melting off tomorrow when the sun comes out, because we'll get the radiation from the sun melting the snow along that we have melting component and traffic. So here on, I most spoke, this is Glenstone, not Gladstone, but Glenstone. This will certainly clear up by late morning. So will the interstates. But anything that doesn't get sun, anything shaded, is going to be there until Saturday. So remember that. That's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday until Saturday, like your neighborhood streets. So Bob, travel is not going to be great even once the sun comes out, except on those exposed highways that have been treated and plowed.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and Mike, you were an entrepreneurial kid, like I was, entrepreneurial, and we used to shovel driveways, right? And we would charge by how heavy the snow was, and I think we're talking mid '80s when I was charging people $5 for the heaviest snow. Let's flash forward to 2025. How much would you charge to plow like a regular 50 by 20? Fox Weather storm specialist Mike Seidel is right there in Springfield on the ground. Mike, it does not look any better than the last time I saw you, man. You're just in it.
Well, it looks great for people who love snow and cold weather and bitter cold weather and record cold weather. We're out here off I-44 north side of the interstate, and let's take a look at how the visibility has come down now. 3/4 of a mile in light snow at the airport. And there's the ramp for Joplin east and west and east towards Rolla. And this interstate goes from St. Louis, all the way down, well, past St. Louis, but going west, you go down towards Joplin, then into Tulsa and Kansas City. We've had some heavy snow down the interstate in Joplin. They're a 1/4 mile, just checked, 11 degrees. And guess what, Bob? We've dropped another degree here. We were at 18 when we got out here several hours ago. Now we're down to 12 degrees, and the wind chill is 4 below zero. So this is all powder, and because it's so cold, the melting component is really not doing its job a little bit because of the intensity, the cold weather. Even though we have insulation, you can see the road surface barely where the cars and trucks have come by. But once again, I've noticed how vehicles have slowed down on the roadway here going over the interstate and on the ramp. So this is what's to come. We're going to have heavier snow, 1 inch an hour, especially when it's powder. It really adds up much faster. And then the cold weather. These temperatures are insane. You remember Crazy Eddie from New York City back in the 80s and 90s anyway? Talking about insane. Highs tomorrow and Thursday, only in the mid-teens. The average high should be 50. So instead of 50 degrees, we're going to talk about 13, 15, 16. Those are record high maxes, which just means we've never had high temperatures that cold for those days in February since 1882. That puts it in perspective. And then the coldest weather this season, and the first time below zero on Thursday morning, late tomorrow night, Thursday morning, down to 5 below zero. That will take, if we get down to 5 below zero, Bob, that will take 12 degrees off the record. As you can imagine, schools, everything's closed today, and I suspect that restaurants will be shutting down. There won't be much to choose from after about 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, unless you find a hotel where they put their employees up in the hotel. But visibility continues to drop here off I-44. And the winds occasionally gusting to 20 miles an hour. No concern about a blizzard warning, but there will be some blowing and drifting in the open areas, especially later today and tonight as we get a little bit more wind. The thing is, the storm's going well to our south. The wind's caused by the big Arctic high coming down, the low down in Texas. So we get the double whammy. We get the combined wind from the northeast and then around to the northwest. And amazingly, it's going to stay below freezing, Bob, until Saturday. So anything that doesn't get hit by the sun is going nowhere until we get into Saturday and Sunday and next week when temperatures finally get up close to 60.
My gosh, yeah, I mean, it's such a good point. Whatever you see falling on the ground is going to be sticking around for at least 5-6 days for sure. And what are your thoughts on the drier air that's still up to the north? It still looks like where you are in Springfield all the way down to Joplin, you're in that sweet spot where you're going to see a lot of snow pinpoint in one area.
Exactly. Those are my 2 favorite words in a snowstorm, sweet spot.
Sweet spot.
You know?
Yeah.
When you hear those, I'm there, I'm here, I'm planted here, yes. North of I-70, that's where it starts to back off. In fact, St. Louis is in an advisory. Kansas City is in a warning. So the dry air, and that's one of the reasons we came down to this part of Missouri. And it always looked like the southern part of Missouri and the southwest part into the Ozarks of Arkansas would have the bellwether totals. The only other spot that's going to be certainly showing up as a hot spot for snowfall totals will be back in the Tidewater of Virginia. Now this dump truck, I just came around the corner and lost its back end for just a split second. You couldn't see it on camera. So Bob, you got to slow down out here this afternoon, as they are, because roads are now even though they're plowing and salting, are snow-packed and snow-covered.
Yeah, Mike, are you safe enough away from the road? It looks like they're right behind you when those trucks go by.
Well, it's the appearance that I'm closer than I actually am.
Okay,
I'm
good.
probably about 15 yards from the road. I can step down here.
All right, good. Yeah, listen,
I
worry about you.
It's the compression.
Yeah,
It's the compression on the camera.
I got you. Listen, I worry about you. The only guy that I know that knows about Crazy Eddie's prices are slowly practically giving them all away. VCRs, tape recorders, Betamax.
I knew you would know about Crazy Eddie. Man, those commercials were great. I saw them, and I didn't even grow up in New York City, but you remember his prices are insane.
They're insane. Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't believe you know that stuff.
And then what happened? What happened to the store? The owner ended up in like jail for tax evasion.
I follow him on
They
Twitter.
all closed. Yeah,
he did his time. He's doing all right now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay, good.
Mike Seidel up there, buddy. Good to talk to you. We'll check back in and see how much worse it gets in another half an hour, buddy. Let's go out to Mike Seidel. He's out there in Springfield, Missouri. Mike, I want to bring you in on the discussion because I know you've been out in the elements, and the wind chill is -5 right now. How you holding up, buddy?
I'm doing fine. I've got all the heavy artillery on, and so I'm not really feeling anything now. If the wind hits my face, yeah, you can feel that, exposed flesh. And keep in mind, wind chills here will drop down to 15 to 20 below zero sometime late tonight and then into Thursday at some point. That cold, keep safe and cover exposed flesh, or just stay out of the cold if you can. We do have issues on I-44. This is 44 behind me on the north side here in Springfield. And if you're heading west towards Joplin and you're trying to get to Tulsa, well, right now there's been a major pileup multi-car accident right inside the state line on this side, on the Missouri side. So if you're going westbound, just past exit 1, it is shut down. What they're saying, police activity, but a multi-car pileup. And that westbound lane is going to be shut down, they're saying, for 8 hours. They do have a workaround and a detour to get around that, but you're going to have to slow down, and then you're going to have to get on the detour. Then you can get back on the roadway. But even as you get on I-44 into Oklahoma, it's been touch and go into Tulsa. So remember that. Take it easy. Take it slow. Even though they are salting and plowing with temperatures in the low teens, it's not helping a lot with the snowfall intensity up to 1 inch an hour, even though we have daylight. It's just, I mean, we're 20 degrees below freezing right now. 12 here. Wind chill, as Bob mentioned, 5 below zero. So the snow is going to fall right on till midnight. After that, it should just pretty much wrap up. And then we're just left with a cold, blustery wind. Excuse me. Not even cold, but bitter cold. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be down around zero with the wind chills 10 to 15 below zero. Highs tomorrow and Thursday, mid-teens versus an average of 50. Yeah, do the mathematics here, about 35 degrees colder than average. And both days will set record low maxes, meaning the coldest high temperatures on record here in Springfield, and their records go back to 1881. That's a pretty long climate set, about as long as you'll see in the United States. And then Thursday morning, first time this season, we go below zero, 5 below zero, and the wind chills then could approach 20 below zero. The melting, the roadways, we're not going to get above freezing. Here's that 4-day forecast until Saturday. By Friday, we'll be up around 30. We will have the sun out, and that will help the areas hit by the sun, plowed and salted, like out here on Glenstone. Notice the road is snow-packed and snow-covered. You cannot see any of the asphalt. Any of the asphalt. So this is going to be the way it is overnight, and then tomorrow, once the sun comes out, it will melt off, even though temperatures are going to be well below freezing. So anything that's shaded, anything that doesn't get any direct sun, there's going to be no melting until Saturday afternoon when we get up close to 40. Sunday back to 50, and then next week we'll get close to 60 degrees. What we've got today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday below freezing. Boy, it'll be enough ice on the ponds to go ice skating by Saturday morning, Bob.
Well, the temperatures, too, getting down into single digits. Mike, we were just talking about Ari and I. He's here in the studio with me as well. We know you like to be in a sweet spot of storms. Would you rather be in the right entrance region or the left exit region of the jet as it goes by?
Oh, my gosh. On a snowstorm? Because the severe weather, boy, I think the right entrance tends to be you get that diffluence aloft.
Yeah.
You know, it's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up.
I would
the right
say,
answer.
Listen, I would say right entrance only because you're closer to the moisture source typically, right? So you get more moisture to feed into
exactly.
the snow.
Yeah, this moisture is coming up from the Gulf, The low is not that close. You know, the low's coming down through south central Texas, and then we'll go way down along I-10 before it takes the right turn. And as you know now, it's not going to blow up on the East Coast. So the only areas that are going to get a decent snowfall are going to be basically the Tidewater, Virginia, and down towards the northern part of the Outer Banks. But back here, yes, moisture's coming in. It's basically overrunning the cold dome, what we call overrunning that process. And then we have the jet stream process giving more lift, and what we call the dendritic growth. Dendrites are snowflakes, ice crystals, and we're in that favored zone. So we're going to squeeze out all we can. Models predicting about 7/10, 8/10 of an inch of melted liquid. Well, with temperatures this cold, guys, you know, the ratios are going to be very high, 15 to 20 to 1. If they melt out all the precip here in Springfield and we get 8/10, I bet the snowfall total is going to be upwards of 12 to 14 inches. But we'll see how it shakes out. Officially at the airport at noon Central, when they take the ob, which is 18Z Zulu time, they had 7/10 of an inch. But I can tell you out here, we're approaching about 2 inches of powder, and it's going to keep adding up. Slowly but surely. You know, it's not snowing particularly hard, but it adds up very quickly when it's this dry and powdery.
Well, I knew you knew the answer to that, Mike.
You can throw anything at Mike.
I mean, he knows everything.
Yeah, I know. You know, I feel like our spouses are probably feeling pretty safe. You know, like when he's probably thinking about other girls. I wonder where the dendritic snow growth zone's going to be.
Mike, man. Mike, great stuff. I know. Listen, I'll smack him for you. Don't worry about it. But we'll check back in when you get in just a little bit, my friend. Good reporting out there. Always try to stay warm, buddy.
From the plains into the mid-Atlantic, covering every aspect of this winter storm. Let's start off right in the middle there. How about Springfield, Missouri? Those guys are in the bullseye for the snow today. Some extreme cold later on in the week as well. Oops, wrong screen. There he is, Mike Seidel. Finally, in the S+, the coveted S+, the geeky meteorological speak for heavy snow. It's gotten a little heavier over the last hour or so, hasn't it?
Yes, indeed. We've got... Go ahead, Ari. Did I step on you?
No, you're good. All you.
Okay. We've got the snow. We had heavy snow the past 15 minutes at the airport, now more moderate. There's the overpass here on Gladstone over I-44, traffic trying to get to Joplin. By the way, I-44 is closed westbound 1 mile inside Missouri from the Oklahoma state line because of a major pileup, and the police say that they expect it to be closed for 8 hours. That would take it to about 8 p.m. Central. Maybe they get it open earlier. There is a detour around that closure, but you get a sense of what they're dealing with here on the roadways. Snowpacked, snow covered, all the roadways. They have salted, they're plowing, but again, it's just so cold today. We're down to 11 degrees. When we came out here this morning, it was 17, 18, and a wind chill now down to 8 below zero. But it's only going to get colder. I just measured about 3 inches of snow on the ground here. Kind of hard to measure because of the grass and the leaves and the blowing. What about 3 inches? We're looking for 8 to 12 inches. And that's a pretty hefty snowfall total considering their seasonal average is 13.7. Now, the cold weather, that's the other story. The snow's going to wrap up probably around midnight or so. Tomorrow morning we'll wake up with the snow over with, but still cold weather, even colder than this morning. We're going to go down to around 0 tomorrow morning, Ari, and the high tomorrow afternoon, mid-teens. The same on Thursday. Those numbers are record cold high temperatures, not only here, but across many stations in the Midwest and Ohio Valley. We'll see their coldest days on record for the 19th and 20th of February. We don't get above freezing here till Saturday. So as far as melting goes, only areas in the direct sun. These roads out here will be fine, I think, by lunchtime tomorrow, certainly tomorrow afternoon because of the sun, despite the temperatures and the fact that will help the melting process. Also I-44. But in the meantime, streets that are not treated or plowed will stay snowy and ice covered for quite a while. Maybe into Saturday, especially if it's shaded and doesn't get any of the radiation, doesn't get any of the sunshine, Ari. So that's the stage. Out at the airport, they have canceled 70% of the flights inbound and about 50% of departures here at Springfield. I suspect the airport should be in better shape tomorrow. Unlike Louisiana, they have plows and salt out here.
So what's the consistency of this snow been like? I mean, obviously the temperature's getting pretty chilly there. Has there been a change over from like wet snow to powdery, or is it all powder? And if so, is the wind a factor? Is the visibility low?
It's all powder. It's been snowing since 6:17 a.m. officially. At that point, I believe it was 18 degrees, and now it's 11, so it's all powder. There's been a little blowing, but not too much. Here, we haven't gotten the gust. Well, the airport's only gusted to about 20 miles an hour. We're not going to get a blizzard. We're not going to see 30, 35 mile an hour gust, but there will be some blowing out there and a little bit of drifting. It's just very dry, powdery snow. At 11 degrees, what's that snowfall ratio, Ari? Like 20 to 1, something like that?
It's got to be something
like
that.
You get a half an inch of liquid, you get 10 inches of snow. So it'll be interesting to see tomorrow morning or after midnight when they do the observation to do the ratio. Melted in the rain gauge and how much they measure out at the weather service here at Springfield out at the airport. But it's got to be at least 15 to 1, if not 18 to 1, or even higher. So we'll have that stat for you in the morning when we come back on the air.
Oh, yeah, definitely the powdery stuff. And you probably saw that MCD, that mesoscale discussion, or
Yes.
the MD that they put out. So they're expecting the snow rates to rise up to about 1.5 inches per hour. So we're just getting started here. We got several hours to go. Mike Seidel, live in Springfield. We'll talk to you plenty more times over the next couple of hours. Thanks a lot for the info, man. Okay, let's talk the forecast. Who we talked to him all day yesterday as they were prepping. The temperature was in the upper 30s there yesterday. You had to know this was going to happen, of course, being a meteorologist. You got all the powder. It's cold, it's snowy. Give us the situation in Springfield right now.
Right now it's 27 degrees colder. Think about how much colder it is. Wind chill now 8 below zero. We've got snow and a little bit of blowing snow. The visibility is a half a mile moderate. We had some heavier snow earlier, and we've got that meso, as we've talked about from the Storm Prediction Center. Those guys and gals in Norman not only predict, talk about tornadoes and severe weather, but they also put out mesos for ice and freezing rain and snow. So they've got one out for this area, most of the southern third of Missouri and the parts of Kansas, and that goes until Oklahoma, until 5:45 Central Time. So we're in the thick of it. An inch to an inch and a half an hour snowfall rate's not out of the question. We've got about 3 inches on the ground here in Springfield. Want to go in on the pass over I-44 here on the north side of town to Joplin and to Rolla, and you can see the visibility at about a half a mile. It is not snowing where it's a total whiteout, and we don't have winds, fortunately, gusting 30, 35 miles an hour. Then we would have a real mess out here trying to see, because when you get winds that strong, it just picks up the snow on the ground. It becomes more of a ground blizzard. Even if it's not snowing, you can have blizzard warnings. Now let me take you down past Joplin. This is the accident we've been talking about. It happened around noon today. This is I-44. This is the westbound lane. So you're going into Oklahoma about a mile inside the state line, right off 166, US 166, and they've got a detour around there at noon. And the last time I checked, they said they expected the westbound lanes to be closed until 8 p.m. tonight. Maybe they get it cleaned up earlier. There is a detour around that area, so it's not like the road's blocked and you can't get around. So you can get around, but again, I-44 is a mess all the way in and past Tulsa, Oklahoma this afternoon. And right here, as you can see, snow and a little bit of blowing snow. The roads, by the way, are in pretty bad shape out here. We've got snow on the roadways, on the road surfaces, and you can't see any bit of the asphalt. The plow came by about 30 minutes ago and scraped down to the surface, but it's just so cold and it's snowing hard enough with 11 degrees, it's not going to melt, even though we have daylight. That's going to change tomorrow. Now, temperatures the next several days are going to be extremely cold. In fact, record cold temperatures. We're talking temperatures in the mid-teens for highs on Wednesday and Thursday, tomorrow and Thursday. Those are record cold maximum temperatures, meaning it's never been that cold for a high temperature on the 19th and 20th of February. And that goes back to 1882. And then Thursday morning, we go down to 5 below zero. Don't forget the wind chill, because these are dangerous wind chills. 8 below right now. We're going to go down to 15, maybe 20 below zero at some point later tomorrow into Thursday morning. So you got to layer up, cover exposed flesh, and deal with it. But with temperatures staying below freezing, Ari, through Friday into Saturday afternoon, we're not going to get any melting unless you're getting hit by the direct sun. If you're getting direct sun, there will be some melting. These roads will melt off tomorrow nicely by afternoon because of the salt and the plowing, and then the black body, the asphalt soaks up that sunshine, and they'll be in good shape, as will the interstates. But anything shaded, The neighborhood streets, nothing that's, and anything that isn't plowed or salted is just going to sit there, and it's going to take a while. In fact, Saturday afternoon, then by Sunday we get up to 50, and Monday 60. So by then we're out of the woods, but that's a long stretch of below zero Celsius, below Fahrenheit temperatures since sunset last night through Saturday afternoon. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's about 4.5, almost 5 days of sub-freezing temperatures here, and the average high right now is around 50 degrees. So that puts it in perspective of how cold, how extreme cold it is, and how long it's lasting.
Yeah, it's going to be a shock to the system when that temperature gets back up to 60 after this, but at least it's not going to stick around for that long. I mean, a couple days, you're right, it is going to be rough, though. I mean, every situation is different. Sometimes it snows and it warms up right after. In this case, it's pretty much the opposite. Mike Seidel, we'll check back in with you. Thanks a lot for the update there. Let's talk about the rest of the storm and for snow today. And some extreme cold later in the week. It's already gotten a lot colder. Mike, we were talking yesterday when it was really quiet. Temperatures were in the 30s, but of course you're a meteorologist. You knew that the cold air was coming in and you knew that you'd be standing in some heavy powdery snow today. How's it looking in Springfield right now?
Yes, indeed. It is getting colder by the hour. We're now down to 9 degrees at 3 o'clock Central Time. The wind chill now 10 below zero. This is really amazing considering the average high is 50. So we're 41 degrees below the average high temperature for this date in February. And the next couple of days, our highs will only be in the mid-teens, which are going to set record low high temperatures, meaning the coldest high temperatures we've had for the 19th and 20th in February. And this goes back to 1881, 1882. They've got a long climate set here in Springfield. That's one of the longest in the country. You know, we have a few spots back to the 1870s. Snow on the ground now, 3 inches. Folks going too fast. This guy just lost his back end. He's back in shape. That's what happens when you put a TV camera towards the road. But look at the road surface. Snow packed, snow covered. The wind right now blowing sustained at about 20 miles an hour at the airport. Don't think it's quite that strong here, but notice the road surface. You can't even really see it. Just saw a plow go down the ramp on 44. We've got that accident that has shut down 44 westbound. That's just inside the state line. That's just past Joplin. So if you're going that direction towards Tulsa, they've got a detour around there. They said about 8 hours it'll be closed. That would be about 8 o'clock this evening. But again, there is a detour. The road isn't shut down, so you can't get from here to Tulsa or Tulsa up this way and into, say, St. Louis. The other thing is the cold weather. I mentioned the high temperatures. We're at 9 right now. The coldest it's been all winter is 1, and that was in the morning back, I believe, January 21st. But as we get into Thursday morning, it's definitely going to go below 0, and we're going to have wind chills at some point later tomorrow night into Thursday morning, down to 20 below. We're already at 10 below. So what's 10 degrees amongst friendly meteorologists? You got to layer up and protect your exposed flesh. I've got all I can wear. I've got a bunch of layers. I've got heavy duty Eddie Bauer pants, and 2 layers below that I've got my Eddie Bauer jacket, and I've got hand warmers in my gloves. So that's what you have to do if you're going to be out in this cold. Granted, we're out here 2 or 3 times an hour for about 8 or 10 minutes each. We're not out here consistently. The snow is going to wind down, Ari, around midnight or so. And then tomorrow it's just going to feature the bitter cold. The temperatures will not get anywhere near freezing, as I mentioned, but if with the sun coming out the next several days, that will take care of these roads that are plowed and treated. They'll clean up very nicely. But anything that's not treated or scraped, and anything that's not in the sun, in the direct sun, is not going to melt until Saturday. Our high temperature is Friday in the upper 20s. Saturday, maybe getting to 40, but it's hard to warm things up when you have a snowpack. And then as we get into Sunday and Monday, 50s, maybe we get to 60 by the early part of next week. So we go back above average. But we've got 4 long, bitter cold days here in southwest Missouri ahead of us once the snow ends later on tonight.
Yeah, you got to hope for some of those asphalt areas getting some sunshine and hopefully helping out a little bit there. But yeah, that 60 is going to feel real nice, I'm sure, after this. The polar vortex is back. Mike Seidel, thank you so much for the update. I appreciate it. That's a live look at Branson, Missouri. Now this, we got Mike Seidel on the screen up behind me. What a nice surprise. Springfield, Missouri. Snow's coming down pretty heavily. Mike, I was just talking to Brandon Kopic. He was pretty close to Branson, and it looked like the snow had really increased in intensity over the last hour. Is it similar in Springfield?
We're just getting the latest ob in just a few minutes ago. Heavy snow Ari, you know the old S plus on the ob. You got to love S plus. The temperature has dropped again, down to 8 degrees. We started this morning at about 18, so it's gone down 10 degrees during the day. That's what we call cold advection. Cold air coming in and temperatures falling. The wind chill is up a little bit because the wind has backed off some. The wind chill is 8 below zero. The winds are gusting up to 24, 25 miles an hour at the airport. This is what it looks like out here on I-44. There goes a plow across the overpass over 44. Now, if you're heading towards Joplin, we've talked about this earlier, there's a big pileup around noontime on the other side of Joplin, about a mile inside from the Oklahoma line. Please stay that road. Westbound is going to be closed until around 8 p.m. tonight. I'll need to check for an update. But don't worry, there's a go-around. There's a detour there to get you around so you can continue, driving down towards Tulsa. We've got 3.5 to 4 inches of snow on the ground. Look at the roadway surfaces. This is what we talked about earlier. Despite the fact that they've been salted and plowed, not a whole lot of melting today with this cold. I mean, we're now what, 26 degrees, or 24 degrees below freezing. So that's quite a bit below freezing. You can see the snow on the roadways, no surface really showing up. Tomorrow, though, the sun will come out. Things will improve because even though temperatures tomorrow will only be in the mid-teens, and again on Thursday, we're going to have melting on anything that's been scraped and treated with some kind of melting component or rock salt. So these roads will ease up tomorrow. But again, think about the neighborhoods, the parking lots that are not plowed. There's not going to be much melting, and no melting at all on the shady side of the street. If you're in the shade, under a tree, if you're not getting direct sun, the temperature here does not get above freezing again until Saturday afternoon. So we're looking at mid-teens tomorrow and Thursday. Those are record cold high temperatures. And then Thursday morning, 5 below zero, the coldest this season. By the way, they were at 5 below zero January a year ago, so it hasn't been that long, just over a year since they've seen sub-zero cold here in Springfield. And I think I mentioned yesterday, Ari, that the coldest on record here is 29 below zero. That's lower than it's ever been in Chicago, and the records go back to about the same time frame, the late 1800s. I just found that amazing to see that. Although somebody said, well, what about the thermometer back in 1880, whatever? I said, well, I wasn't there, but that's what's in the climate set, and we'll go with that. But just goes to show you how extreme cold it can get, even this far south, this latitude here in southwest Missouri.
Yeah, that cold, I mean, that's just all powder. And luckily, it's not too windy. I imagine the visibility would be a lot worse, right?
Yeah, the airport just reporting at the top of the air gusting to 24. We're not gusting that high here. We don't really have much protection, except we're down a little bit below the road surface. But you get out in the open areas and all bets are off. Just imagine if we had gusts 30 or 40 miles an hour right now. I could go out there and you wouldn't even see me. But fortunately, that's not in the cards. The storm is well to the south. What we're getting is the combination of this big polar vortex, this big high, and the low way down in Texas. So we're getting enough what we call the gradient wind to give us some gusts to 20, 25 miles an hour, but we're not going to get a blizzard, thankfully. But we are going to get 8 to 12 inches of snowfall here. The season average is 13.7. They went into this with 9, so they're going to end up topping the season average with still, 4 or 5 weeks where it could still snow. It can snow here through March. On average.
Mike, I love talking to you during these things. You've been doing this for so long, but you still kind of have this aspect where you look like a little kid that's enjoying yourself out in the snow. I bet it's pretty cold right now, though, and it's probably getting a little bit old, maybe, or are you still enjoying yourself?
Well, thankfully, this is how we enjoy ourselves. This is why we're set up here, because I can tell you, I just called the restaurant next to the hotel. They're closing at 6. I'm sure many restaurants, businesses, but certainly places where you eat are going to shut down. But there's always one spot, Ari, that is almost always open. There we go. You can't go wrong.
Oh, how I miss you, Waffle House. One of the worst parts about moving to New Jersey from Atlanta.
Come over here and have a nice hot waffle.
Hash browns covered in pepper.
I had breakfast and lunch there. A very nice crew in there, and they're staying open. But that's why we came here, so we can get dinner, because there's not going to be any place else open, and we don't have to drive because we're on every half an hour. But you got to love the Waffle House, and if you love snow and cold weather, you're in good shape. Just It just is an amazing stretch when you have 4 to 5 days below freezing. That's a fairly long stretch at this part of the country.
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
Not only below freezing, but below 20 degrees. They've been below 20 since late last night, and they won't get back above 20 until Friday afternoon. So we're talking almost 4 days below 20 degrees.
Wow, yeah, extremely cold for that part of the country. What a great find there, the Waffle House, nice and close to the live shot. All right, Mike, thanks a lot for the update. We'll check in soon. Best hash browns at that place, by the way, if anybody has never been there that wants to try it out. Speaking of Waffle House, speaking of eggs, look at this video. Springfield, Missouri. We're going to go out to Fox Weather's Mike Seidel. I'm still pinching myself that I get to work with this guy. He's a legend in the field. He loves being out in the snow. And I imagine you're kind of enjoying it still, or have you been out there for too long as the temperature's been dropping?
I'm keeping on going. Adrenaline gets you going through this cold. I want to tell you about something breaking. 3:42 Central, so about 15 to 20 minutes ago, there's an accident on the westbound of I-44. That's the area going that way, westbound on 44. This ramp up here is blocked off. They blocked that off about 15 minutes ago. Everybody going westbound, they're all coming up the ramp, and you can see turning right and coming my way. I don't know where the accident is. It's just down before the next exit. In fact, I just saw the MoDOT map, and they said it's going to be closed. That stretch is going to be closed at least for a couple of hours. They do have an alternate route, and again, it's 2-lane roads, and it's not the interstate, but that's the call right now. You can see the big rigs coming off, and they're going to work around that blockage. Again, I-44 westbound from Glenstone, you can't get on the interstate. You've got to go down the next exit. I'm not sure who mixed it up. Maybe a tractor trailer spun out and flipped over. I can tell you, I went up to the exit to shoot some video, and these big trucks are they've got to be doing 60 miles an hour. They were really going fast. Now, with that said, you could see part of the interstate surface because of powdery snow, and driving that fast blows it off. But still, I suspect that someone has run off the road or flipped over if they're closing down the road for a couple of hours. We've got that closure to exit 1 past Joplin in that direction, just inside from the Oklahoma line. They said that was going to be closed down until about 8 o'clock tonight Central Time. So a lot of issues getting through South Central Missouri on 44. I haven't seen any closures on I-49. Snow has been heavy at times. I've measured 4 inches out here. It's all powder. Our temperature now 8 degrees. The average high today is 50, so think about that, how much a difference that is. That's 42 degrees difference, and the wind chill now is around 10 below zero. The issue the next several days is going to be the bitter cold, not just 10 degrees below average, but how about 35 degrees below average? Our highs in the mid-teens Wednesday and Thursday. Both of those days will set record cold maxes, record cold high temperatures. Coldest for those dates, 19th and 20th since 1882. And the low on Thursday morning will go down to 5 below zero, the coldest so far this season. The bottom line is, if you're not seeing direct sunshine the next several days, there's not going to be any melting at all. Anything on the shady side of the street or anything that hasn't been plowed or treated, it's going to be a very slow melting process, even in the direct sun. This road will be fine because they have salted and they'll plowed. Once we get several hours of sunshine and traffic, it will open up. But you can see what's going on now. This is all traffic already being diverted off 44 westbound to Joplin. They're going to go around and get back on the interstate farther down the road, farther south and west down 44.
Yeah, well, as you might imagine, obviously a lot of problems out on the roads right now. It's crazy. Even when there's the powdery stuff that's on the ground, you can still have a mess like that. It's been interesting to watch all the people hooting and hollering behind you as they drive by, too. I'm sure you've seen plenty of that in your career. All right, Mike, we got to run here. I got to give people the forecast for
Yes.
this. Have fun. We'll check in with you in just a little bit. All right, let's move. Springfield, why not? That's where they're in kind of the bullseye right now for some pretty heavy snow. That's where we find Fox Weather's Mike Seidel. Got some pretty heavy snow that's been falling there throughout the day. How much snow so far?
4 to 5 inches out here, hard to measure with the wind and the fact that we're getting a little bit of a movement, a little bit of a drifting. But we have issues on the highways. This is I-44 exit 80. This is Glenstone here in Springfield. And look over here to the right of the tree. We've got a snowplow and 2 emergency vehicles. They're blocking the ramp on the on-ramp that's westbound to Joplin because between here and exit 77, the next exit, there is an accident. They think it's going to be closed about an hour or so. The right lane is blocked. But what they've been doing, as you can see here on the off-ramp on 44 westbound, everybody's coming up the off-ramp and hanging a left and doing a go-around. That should end soon, but we've seen all the traffic was shut down about 3:45 as the accident occurred. No injuries reported. The other issue is I-44 down near the Oklahoma line. They're having problems westbound there because of accidents across the state line in Oklahoma. What they're saying, MoDOT is saying, just try to stay off the roads if you can the rest of today and tonight in southern and southwestern Missouri. These snowfall rates an inch an hour at times. Temperatures are bitter cold. You don't want to get stuck out in this cold. Right now it's 8 degrees. We started out at 18 this morning at 9 a.m. Central. So we've gone down all day. The wind chill continues to go down. It's around 10 below zero. Now the snow is going to wrap up later tonight. Another several inches, 2 to 4 inches by midnight. Brings our total 8 to 12. That's the forecast all along. And then it's just all about the extreme long duration record cold. Tomorrow and Thursday, highs in the mid-teens. Those are record cold highs for the 19th and 20th of February. And the records here go back to 1882. So we're talking about more than 120 years. It's never been that cold during the daytime. Now, what about lows? Tomorrow morning around 0, not a record. But 5 below 0 on Thursday morning as the skies clear out. That's going to be a new record, taking 12 degrees off the previous number. And as the wind combines with these sub-zero temperatures, our wind chills will go down to 15, maybe 20 below 0. Heck, right now we're already at 10 below 0. And although it's not as windy where I'm standing, I took a hike out to the interstate to get some pictures, and it's much windier, the visibility is lower, and you can feel that -10 wind chill, every bit of it on your exposed flesh. So watching the interstates here, 44 and 49, keep an eye on that, and just be safe if you have to go out tonight. I think everything's going to be pretty much shut down by 5 or 6 o'clock, except for the Waffle House, based on making some calls to restaurants. And just from my experience, Ari, of what happens when you have this kind of snow, even at this latitude where they do have plows and salt, unlike Baton Rouge and New Orleans, but even up here, people want to get home and get safe. Talking to a lot of folks today, they were asking around if their friends have all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. And I talked to one waitress at the Waffle House yesterday, and she said when they had their biggest snowstorm of 6.3 back in early January on the 9th and 10th, they didn't plow her apartment complex parking lot or the street beside her, so she really couldn't get anywhere. So that's the kind of situation we're looking at. And with temperatures not getting to freezing until Saturday afternoon, if you're on the shady side of the street, there's going to be absolutely no melting. I think these roads are going to be improving tomorrow and certainly on Thursday. Looking at the new model runs, Ari, I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of sunshine tomorrow, but we will Thursday and Friday, and that will help out the main thoroughfares like the interstates and like here on Glenstone that have been scraped and salted.
Yeah, every situation's a little different, right? Sometimes you get that warm frontal snow and it gets warm after the snow falls and it melts pretty quickly. This is about as bad of a situation in the opposite direction as you can have. Not only the cold side of the storm coming through, but just a uniquely bad polar vortex situation with all this cold air. All right, Mike, enjoy your dinner tonight at the Waffle House. Go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner all in one day. Can't go wrong. We'll check in with you again. Thanks, brother. All right, let's forecast the rest of this storm.
Extreme cold later on this week as well. This could possibly lead to Springfield seeing the greatest snow event since 2011. Let's get the ground truth right now with Fox Weather storm specialist Mike Seidel. And Mike, it looks like it's truly coming in with the fury right now with you. It's starting to enhance with the snow and the wind.
Yes, we've got winds gusting 20 to 25 miles an hour out at the airport. The temperature now down to 7. The wind chill is 12 below 0. We've dropped from 18 to 7 during our stay here today. We got out here about 9 a.m. Central, actually about 8 a.m. Central. So we've been out here, gosh, going on 9 hours, I guess. So it has continuously dropped. Winds have not significantly picked up, Stephen, but it is certainly a cold bitter cold day by standards here in Springfield. Average high today is 50. Imagine that, 50 is the average high. We're sitting at 7. In the next couple of days, our highs will not get above the mid-teens. We'll set 2 record cold maxes. That means the coldest highs we've seen on record since 1882 for the 19th and 20th of February. Plows continue to go by here on Gladstone. That's the entrance ramp. The entrance ramp going down 44 westbound. It's closed right now. There's an accident which took place about an hour and 15 minutes ago, so they've shut down the westbound lanes on 44 between 80 and 77. There was a go-around. Everybody now coming up the ramp, or they were coming up the ramp. There they are. There's 2 semis. Most of them are turning right to do the go-around to get back on 44 and head down towards Joplin. We've had issues between Joplin and the Oklahoma state line today with an accident earlier, and now I'm reading about slowdowns because of accidents in the state of Oklahoma. So 44 between Tulsa and Springfield and up towards Rolla, really a road that you probably should avoid tonight and early in the morning. Tomorrow, temperatures going nowhere. We get a little bit of sunshine. That'll help out anything that's plowed and heavily salted with traffic. But the roads really aren't going to clear up nicely, the ones that get the direct sun and that have been scraped, until Thursday, because we'll have a nice sunny day Thursday, albeit a high of 15 or 16 degrees. 50 again is the average high. And the lows Thursday morning down below 0 at 5 below 0. Mr. Bender, the wind chills will drop even colder than the 10 below right now, down to maybe 20 below 0 here in Springfield. The next time we get above freezing will be sometime Saturday afternoon. So if you've got anything that doesn't get the direct sun Thursday and Friday, it's not going to melt. It is not going to melt at all. And that includes a lot of neighborhood streets that have trees over them, even without the leaves, it blocks whatever radiation comes in. But this is an incredibly cold air mass, and the fact that it's going to stay below freezing since yesterday at sundown through Saturday afternoon, that's a pretty long stretch at this latitude this time of the year.
And Mike, you had talked about the accident, Tulsa, Joplin. I mean, some of these areas are reporting 3, 4, 5 inches of snow, and you're expecting an additional potential 5 to 8. And just south of you, the Ozarks. And that's another spot where those mountainous roads are really difficult to traverse. So this is an event that's going to be ongoing through the overnight into early tomorrow, something we'll be watching closely. Mike, it looked like you wanted to add something off of that.
Awesome. No, I was going to say, when you go down 44 towards Rolla, you go east, you're actually clipping the northern part of the Ozarks, and that road is a little bit, hilly up and down, and so you got to watch that. But yeah, the Ozarks, boy, this is not a night to be out in those roads, those 2-lane roads. It's dark and snow-covered all the way down to north of Little Rock. Not a good night, along with the cold weather. You don't want to get stuck out in this cold weather. I've got as much as I can put on, and I can feel it on my face. Fortunately, what is saving us right now from just complete calamity on the roads is the wind. If we had winds gusting 30 to 40 miles an hour, there would be incredible amount of road closures. Yeah. Right now, we just have a couple of road closures, basically on 44, where there are accidents.
Yeah, those are the major roads, and we'll continue to stay in with you, Mike, and kind of get that update, because this is nowhere near done for spots like Springfield and into the Central Plains. So, Mike, thank you for that update. He's showing you the road conditions driving around. There's Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel with the latest. Mike, you've been out there for hours, and I see behind you constant traffic. What's it been like, the progression of this storm?
One thing, we started out this morning, we got out here about 8 o'clock Central, it was 18, now it's 7, the wind chill has dropped down to 12 below 0, so it's bitterly cold out here, and we're not getting the full effect of the wind, we're getting somewhat of a blockage. I walked up to the interstate earlier, and it's much windier up there, more blowing snow. This plow has pulled over and stopped. Why we have so much traffic is because everybody that's westbound towards Joplin is being taken off the interstate here at exit 80. The Gladstone exit. We've got a police car down there blocking the on-ramp because there's an accident between 77 and 80. 77 is the next exit down. There was a accident around 342, 345, and they've got that shut down. It said right lane only, but they've diverted traffic off the interstate at this point. So they're doing a go-around, and hopefully they'll get I-44 open again soon. But let me tell you, it is nasty out there, because there's more wind down there, and it just, when we get to the darkness in about a half an hour, the visibility just isn't as good. Right now, we're a quarter mile, heavy snow at the airport, SGF. And I've measured 4 to 5 inches out here. We're looking for a storm total of 8 to 12. So we're looking at several more inches of snow. It's all powder with these temperatures ridiculously cold. The average high today is 50 degrees. And at midnight last night, it was around 20 or so, if that. The next couple of days, highs in the mid-teens. These are records for the date, 19th and 20th of February. It has never been that cold for an afternoon high, for a high temperature for a 24-hour day, a calendar day, since 1882. And then Thursday morning, we'll go down to 5 below. That'll be a new record, too. But the overall take here is bitter cold for an extended period of time, dangerous. You can get frostbite, and wind chills at 12 below could go as low as 20 below zero in this window between now and Thursday. First chance for a bright sunny day is Thursday. That will really help out road surfaces like this and the interstates that have been treated and plowed. But otherwise, if you don't have any direct sun, nothing is going to melt or start melting until Saturday. And that's when we get temperatures close to 40. Sunday close to 50. Next week we get up close to 60. So a nice recovery, but we've got the rest of today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, into Saturday afternoon below freezing. The only way we're going to get rid of snow, Steve, is sublimation, where it goes from a solid to a gas. It doesn't go through the liquid phase, but otherwise, forget about it. No melting at all between now and Saturday. Fortunately, a lot of things have closed. And again, by the way, schools are closed tomorrow in this area, just like they were today, and we'll see if they can get them open on Thursday, but everything is closed today. And I imagine just about everything restaurant-wise is going to be closing in the next couple of hours so they can get their employees home and get them safe for this evening.
It's smart, because once it goes dark and these roads aren't be able to be cleared quick enough just because of how many of them are impacted, you don't want to be left out there. I mean, as you had referenced, Mike, that accident out on the interstate happened about 3.5 hours ago. You don't know how long you could be trapped out in this dangerous cold. Why it's important to stay home when necessary. Mike, thank you for that update.
And the only thing saving us right now, Steve, is the lack of really strong winds. If we had gusts 40 miles an hour, 35 to 40, this would be a swirling whiteout out here. And there would be many, many more road closures. The only closures we've had today is because of accidents, not like we've seen in the Dakotas with blizzards, where they just shut down long stretches of interstate because they don't even want to go to the point where you get a jackknife tractor trailer and the interstate shut down for hours. So the wind, although 20 to 25, and although the wind chill down below 10 below zero is not a serious factor, and they're able to keep the roads at least navigable and keep them open.
That's a great point, Mike. You don't want to, risk the first responders that have to come out there if there is an accident. Mike, thank you for that update from Springfield.